Keith Murray, right? You know about the run-in that him and Tupac had in L.A. at the House of Blues, where Tupac confronted him about Ashasha?
I do recall. I believe it was Pac and Big Sight and maybe Bogart that ran into Keith Murray at the House of Blues. And I do remember Pac, stepping to him and asking him, "Was you dissing me?" And the song, and Keith Murray said no. Cause Pac was on a mission, bro. He was listening to all these lyrics and also paranoid. So he listening to all these New York rappers and thinking everybody taking shots at him. So when he saw him, he would go confront him. Yeah, Pac used to go to House of Blues and look for. He used to try to confront because a lot of the rappers were still going there for, you know what I mean, for to do they performances or whatever. And it's another thing, like how people, when they try to make it seem like Pac was just pushing his East Coast West Coast beef and wanted to bring, a lot of times when he went to the House of Blues, it was only him, Big Syke, and Bogart. So he wasn't even going there looking for trouble, but he wanted to go and confront these individuals. So if he was like really wanted to do something, he could have said, "Oh, such and such has a performance this day. Let's go, do something." Pac was still keeping it, respectful. He would go to him and say, "Look, bro, he only by himself 2 deep or 3 deep," and he would confront them. You know what I mean? So when they make it seem like he was just this wild individual spearheading the East Coast West Coast beef, they forget about these times where if it was really something he was pushing, when these East Coast rappers came to LA, he had the upper hand. He wouldn't even take us most of the time.
Yeah, that's wild, man. So Tupac, he already knew then. He had a heads up when New York rappers would come to L.A. and perform at the House of Blues, and he'll go up there and confront them.
Yeah, he definitely was up there talking to him, saying what the temperature was, and it wasn't on no beef stuff where, you know what I mean? Because he could have called a bunch of dudes and say this person. So it shows that it wasn't what the media portrayed it was when it came to that East Coast, West Coast, or Pac just looking to make trouble. You know what I mean? But one thing I can say, he was paying attention to all these lyrics and thinking people taking shots at him.
You know what's funny, yo? It's funny how they try to rewrite history, man, and they try to make it seem like Tupac, he's the one that started the whole East Coast, West Coast beef, when it was already heating up before he came in the picture. If you look at the 95 Social Wars, right, when Suge Knight got on stage and made the comments he made, and Snoop made the comments he made, Tupac, he was in prison at that time. Even if you look at Suge Knight's friend getting killed at Jermaine Dupri party by Puffy Bodyguard, Tupac wasn't in the picture at that time.
Yeah, definitely. I think it was brewing up like the East Coast, West Coast, because you had like Ice Cube and West Side Connection going after certain people. But you got to realize the East Coast, West Coast beef and these rappers dissing each other, it benefited the record labels. So the record labels were the ones that was paying, Vibe magazines, paying the media. They was pushing this stuff. They was benefiting from it. You know what I mean? So whenever you have these like, anybody in the music industry, young black deaths, the people that's going to benefit is the people behind the scene you don't see. And what happened? An artist died. You know what I mean? The East Coast, West Coast beef, for example, it made music industry money. So Pac, being because he outspoken, he has this charisma, they just said we're going to use him to be the face of it, even though, like you said, it was already brewing. But these people are very slick. You know what I mean? They realize that we're dealing with emotions of people from the hood. You know what I mean? It's very easy for people to go at each other. Let's push this. You know what I mean? And when I mean these record labels, I'm not just talking about Death Row. I'm talking about the people that's coming to Death Row saying, hurry up, hit them up out. We'll give you an extra $1 million, for example, the people you don't see. You know what I mean? So they, you know what I mean? That plays, they definitely had their hand in it. These CEOs of these big record companies, these Interscope and these Universal Records, these people making billions of dollars off of African Americans. And as soon as somebody died, you never heard one record company pay for the funeral of a rapper. You know what I mean? You never heard of a record company. Bro, you never heard of a record company going to the ghettos. Imagine Interscope Records saying we're going to open up this youth center. You know what I mean? But they benefited from the East Coast, West Coast beef. They benefited from these things. But they never get back to the hood. They don't even put life insurance on the rappers to give to their family. It just really is sad. You know what I mean? It's messed up. And for us coming from the hood, you got to realize our background, we 13, 14, 15 years old, and all of a sudden you giving us a couple hundred or a couple 100,000 or maybe $1 million to diss another, coast or diss another rapper, we're going to go right into it and not realize that it might end up with people dying. You know what I mean?